They liked the balance that they had in race.
Casey Kane, we congratulate him, his third career pole.
It's all three Hendrick Motorsports in the front.
There's a few movers and shakers out there. Right?
Carl Edwards free falling for a couple of victory lane is Joey Logano.
Get the inside line on who's fast and who's last before setting your NASCAR fantasy race team lineup this weekend. This is the Inside Line on MRN.com, presented by Hercules Tires. Now, here are your fantasy experts, Robbie Mays and Tyler Burnett.
Welcome to the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show, presented by Hercules Tires. Martin Truex Jr. dominates round one of the chase, winning 2 of the 3 races, of course, winning at Chicago, then winning last week in dominating fashion at Dover, almost winning at New Hampshire. I think it's safe to say, Robbie Mays, that Martin Truex Jr. is probably the favorite moving forward.
I think you got to put him at the top of the list, Tyler. First of all, welcome back. Second of all, congratulations. Third of all, I have questions now that I've met the majority of your family, because for the most part,
because most of them are watching.
For the most, and I know, and they're apparently a big fan of mine. Not so much you.
Yeah, right.
They, for the most part, are pretty normal. What happened to you?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. Congratulations, and it was a fun night at the wedding on Saturday night. My question to you is this: last year, Joey Logano won all 3 races of the round of 12. Martin Truex won 2 of the 3 races of the round of 16. Which, in your opinion, was more impressive, Joey Logano or Martin Truex?
I think Truex is more impressive.
Yeah.
Because they're from Colorado. Their stuff is in Colorado. They're not based in Charlotte. Team Penske is based here, of course. I will say that Logano only had 1 teammate, and Keselowski and Truex essentially has 4.
Right. And
he has the best equipment in the garage right now with Joe Gibbs Racing, though Truex has been better than Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, all the Gibbs guys. Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, he's been better than all of them. So I think what the 78 team right now is doing is probably more impressive than what Logano did. But, of course, we saw what happened to Logano. He made some enemies on the track.
Right.
Coming up at Kansas in 2 weeks with Matt Kenseth, and then, of course, his downfall was the week after that. But we'll see. I don't think Truex is going to make any enemies, though. I think he's just too fast right now.
Yeah, I was just curious what your opinion was. Mine is of the same. I think Truex right now is the dominant car. They won 3 of the last 5 Sprint Cup Series races. But we're coming up to some tracks, again, that his track record not that great at, but it's been the same thing all season long. They've been running well at places where historically he doesn't run well before. So I'm interested to see what happens.
Well, I think it's safe to say they can get through this second round pretty easily. Their best track coming up in Charlotte.
Right.
They led 392 laps of the 400. They're not going to be able to lead 392 laps because we don't have 400 laps this time, but they could potentially dominate this race. They should have won Kansas. I know you guys like the should have thing, but they had a problem on pit road. They dominated that race as well. Kyle Busch won that race earlier. So 2 of their best racetracks that they're really, really good at coming up in this round. And then, of course, if they can win one of those, which I think they will, they'll be safe going into Talladega. Alex Hayden joins us on the show today. It should be fun to talk to him. Have not talked to him for a while since I've been out of, what do you call it, remission? Or I've been gone for a little bit. I mean, it seems like it's been forever, but it's only been like 5 days or something.
Yeah.
It's not remission?
No.
Anyway.
No.
My producer says no in my ear.
I should have bought you a dictionary for a wedding gift.
Doesn't Joey Meyer on Monday have that little sound that plays when he has the word?
Yeah, but those words are creative, and yours was just...
Anyways, Alex joins us. Our teams also... And then that Under the Rock segment we do.
Yeah, it's good this week.
We'll hear from Rango Fowler, his picks later on. So we'll take a break. We'll be back here on the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show.
The Inside Line will return in just a moment.
From work life to nightlife, from home to the road, your day can take you anywhere. These fast-paced times call for Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans. Advanced Comfort is designed to keep up with you, no matter where you go or what you're doing. They're made with 20% stronger denim and 4-way flex technology that moves with you. Wrangler Advanced Comfort. Go anywhere, look great, and be comfortable. Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans. Try on a pair today.
When the smoke settles, the entertainment never stops.
You know, it's everybody just trying to say my last name. They just don't finish it.
On race weekends, your favorite NASCAR personality is an everyday superhero.
And here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr.
But when they leave the racetrack, they're just like everyone else.
For the most part, our hearts were wagon makers.
I'm Susie Armstrong. Join me on a daily journey as we discuss the hot topics and engaging personalities of NASCAR Nation. Ned Jarrett's World of Racing, weekdays on the Motor Racing Network.
NASCAR races are all about world-class, high-performance vehicles, and that's not just limited to the race cars. Freightliner Cascadia haulers transport the race cars and equipment from track to track 38 weekends of the year, keeping your favorite drivers in the race season after season. And from the engine to the seats to the dash, Freightliner specifically engineers its vehicles to give truck drivers a reliable, comfortable ride. Learn more about Freightliner truck models at FreightlinerTrucks.com.
Welcome back to the Inside Line. Here are your hosts, Robbie Mays and Tyler Burnett.
A lot of the talk today, of course, will be about Martin Truex Jr., who, well, he dominated this race. I mean, it was quite to the point of almost being boring the last time we were at Charlotte and the Coke 600. He led 392 laps. He has 3 straight top 5s at Charlotte. And, of course, right now, hands down, the best car in the garage. It's safe to say that he is on both of our teams and anyone who is watching this show, correct?
I learned my lesson last week. I didn't have Truex on my team at Dover,
Wow.
and it bit me hard. So, yeah, Truex is on my team this week, next week at Kansas, probably Talladega. I think he's kind of in that territory that a lot of folks had with the majority of the Gibbs cars earlier in the season. So Martin Truex Jr. needs to be on your team. At Charlotte, 22 starts, 1 win. The last 3 races there have been top 5 finishes and 7 top 10s. And his 10-race average is a 12.4.
Yeah, he's a no-brainer this week. Also another guy who I think is a no-brainer. I assume he's on your team. If not, then we're probably going to have some problems. Kevin Harvick.
Yes, what I said for Martin Truex just now, the same thing with Kevin Harvick.
Harvick's last 7 races in Charlotte, he has 3 second-place finishes, 2 wins, and 7 straight top 10s in the last 5 years, which is 10 races. Harvick's worst finish is 16th. So Harvick right now is probably the best car at Charlotte because Truex's average finish at Charlotte in the last 10 races is not all that great. I mean, it's a 12.4. There's about 6, 7, 8 people better than him. But Harvick right now has a 5.3 average finish over the last 10 races at Charlotte.
Yeah, second last fall, second in May, 4th best average on mile-and-a-half racetracks in 2016. That's at an 8.0. By the way, Kurt Busch is still leading that category. He's got a 6.9 average finish on mile-and-a-half racetracks this year. But Harvick at Charlotte, he's got the best 10-race average at a 5.3. 9th highest driver rating. He doesn't lead a lot of laps here. And if you go back to the first year he won the Coca-Cola 600 back in 2011, I think he led, the last lap, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't lead a lot here, but he definitely has the ability to get you a strong top 10 finish. The start of his career, he struggled at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Just 3 top 10s in his first 19 races here. But then, like you said, the last 5-6 years, it's been lights out at Charlotte for Kevin Harvick.
All right, so there's no argument as far as our top 2 picks this weekend heading into Charlotte.
Yeah.
Now the challenge is picking your next 3 positions. And to start out my 3rd pick on my fantasy team this week, I went away from Kyle Larson and I added Chase Elliott, who has been very good recently. And in fact, I think I like the way he's running right now, quietly becoming probably a championship contender, I would think. And we probably wouldn't have said he was a threat for the championship coming into the chase. Well, he has 2 third-place finishes, one at Chicago, which is a mile-and-a-half racetrack, and then, of course, a third-place finish at Dover, and then he finished 13th at New Hampshire, which he's not as good at the flat tracks. So Hendrick horsepower, Hendrick has been running well lately. Casey Kane, who's not in the chase, has been running well. He ran well at Chicago. He ran well at Dover. Chase Elliott is back on my team this week. I think he's good at mile-and-a-half racetracks. And I think he can get you a top 5 realistically. I think Chase Elliott can get you a top 5.
You know, for the first part of the year, Chase Elliott was the marquee driver for Hendrick Motorsports for a long time, and then he kind of struggled. Jimmy Johnson, they've come on board the last couple of weeks. They've had some problems. They bit themselves on the foot a couple of times for problems that we don't normally see Jimmy Johnson have. I mean, he's a 6-time champion. Normally, when they have problems, they're able to overcome them and win the race most times. But I like the Chase Elliott pick. He's been on my team for a lot of the season. And if you go back to last week, he finished third at Dover. Go back to the last race on a 1.5 mile track at Chicagoland. He finished third there. And, he's a good choice this weekend. Charlotte's a great track to get your first win. We've seen it a lot the last 20 or so years. And some of the biggest names in the sport have gotten their first career wins at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
That's right. And I believe his teammate will be good this weekend as well, Robbie Mays. Is that right?
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson. And this is kind of where I skew off course on my own a little bit. I've got a couple of drivers that potentially could make up the third spot on my lineup. Jimmy Johnson is one of them. Denny Hamlin is one of them. I think right now I'm leaning more towards Jimmy Johnson. And once upon a time, it's kind of like Dover last week. He owned Charlotte Motor Speedway. And then they've kind of fallen off in recent years. But the good news is he's really good here. The bad news is his 10-race average is a 17.4, 3 finishes of 30th or worse in the last 10 races. So do you go with him based on his track record, knowing he struggled here recently and they've bitten themselves on pit road a lot this year, or do you just put him on your team and hope he can get a top 5 finish?
Yeah, I mean, the last 10 races he hasn't been all that good at Charlotte. He had a win. Of course, what was that, in 2014, 2013, somewhere around there?
The 600 in 2014.
Yeah, okay. So that was my first race here.
Yeah.
Jimmy dominated that race. I mean, he led a lot of laps in that race. So Johnson could be a guy that you look at this week. I think Brad Keselowski is a guy you look at too. He's not on my team. He's the only driver in the first 3 races with a top 5. Is that correct? I think I heard that stat.
Probably.
Where did Truex finish in New Hampshire?
Not top 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Brad Keselowski could be a potential good pick this weekend. He has 3 straight top 10s. Joey Logano, of course, won this race last year. Carl Edwards won the Coke 600 2 years ago. Just guys who were pretty good at Charlotte. Let's round out our team, Robbie. So Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott. I'm keeping Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who was really good last week, finished 11th. He has 2 straight top 15 finishes at Charlotte. I'm saving 20 cents by keeping him. And then, of course, locking in Matt DiBenedetto earlier on in the year at 425, better than the Jeffrey Earnhardts or anybody else at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
So Matt DiBenedetto's on my team, so that's my top 5.
All right, so I've got Truex. I've got Kevin Harvick. I'm going to go Jimmy Johnson. I'm also going to pick up Casey Mears. I got some money left over this week, so I'm going to pick up Casey Mears, 18th. In this race last year. He was 30th in the 600 back in May. And I'm going to hold on to Chris Buescher. He's out of the chase, but I'm going to hold on to him. 37th in his only Sprint Cup Series start at Charlotte. That was in this year's Coca-Cola 600.
Alex Hayden will join us after the break. You're watching and listening to the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show, presented by Hercules Tires.
Got a question or opinion about your fantasy lineup? Give us a call at 8444-ASK-MRN, and it may get used on next week's show. The Inside Line will return in a moment.
O'Reilly. If your vehicle has a bumpy ride, it might be time for new shocks or struts. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, buy 4 Monroe shocks and struts for the price of 3 after mail-in rebate. Improve your vehicle's steering, stopping, and stability with Monroe shocks and struts at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Kansas Speedway here, and this time I am not sorry, because if you're into NASCAR, then this commercial is for you. If you're not into NASCAR, but you're into playoff-style sports, then this commercial is still for you. If you're not into NASCAR, not into playoff-style sports, but you enjoy epic tailgating, then this commercial is for you. Because Sunday, October 16th, you can have it all, or at least one thing you're into.
The chase is on as the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Championship comes to Kansas. Get your tickets to the Hollywood Casino 400 at kansasspeedway.com.
Are you in the concrete, construction, or waste industry? Are repair bills starting to pile up as your current mixer, dump, or waste truck starts to show its age? Before you make that plunge, consider an alternative to buying new. The Housby 2G second generation program is the complete refurbishment of your existing used trucks without the hefty price tag that comes with it. Extend the life of your current trucks today and give yourself an economic alternative to that new truck price. For more information, visit Housby.com. Housby, an official sponsor of NASCAR for over 40 years.
Let's talk more fantasy racing on The Inside Line. Here's Robbie and Tyler.
Shout out to, we were just talking in the break, Austin Dillon for making the second round of the chase. I don't think, did Rich, you and I either any of us have Austin Dillon? Actually, I had Austin Dillon, but I did not have Chase Elliott moving on.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So, but Chase moved on as well. Who are the eliminated guys? Kyle Larson, Tony Stewart,
Chris Buescher, and Jamie McMurray.
Okay, so both Chip Ganassi racing cars are eliminated from the chase. We move on to the second round of the chase, and of course, you'll hear from this guy heading to Kansas this weekend. He's going to be golfing in Orlando with his family, but you'll hear him at Kansas in 2 weeks when MRN will join the chase again. Alex Hayden is on the phone, pit reporter for the Motor Racing Network. Alex, how are you?
Doing fantastic. By the way, congratulations, Tyler, on your nuptials. Congratulations on that. I'm happy for you guys. Robbie, hello, how are you?
I'm good, Alex. I'm single, by the way, still. So,
so am I.
Yeah.
Robbie had a good time at the wedding.
Yeah, it was a great time.
Anyways, let's talk some fantasy racing heading to Charlotte Motor Speedway. Alex, we saw Martin Truex Jr. dominate this race earlier in the year. He's been dominant during this chase, winning 2 races of the 3 so far, potentially could have won a 3rd race. Is Truex a guy that if you have a pulse, you start him this week?
I would say so, yes. And more times than not, I get the sense when somebody is on a dominant run that they're due for, I guess, a slightly less dominant race. But with what Truex was doing all this chase so far, by the way, he dominated the 600 at Charlotte back in May. I don't see how you can't start Truex on your fantasy racing team. I know I would.
Yeah.
Alex, I questioned myself in the last segment about the number 3 driver on my list this week. Jimmy Johnson or Denny Hamlin. Johnson, who has been strong at Charlotte in the past, struggled recently. Denny Hamlin, who has come on pretty strong at Charlotte in the last few years. If you had a choice between the 48 or the 11, who would you put on your team?
That's a heck of a toss-up. It really is, because Denny Hamlin and his team, they seem to be running quite well. And they're almost like out of the spotlight because of what's going on with Truex, and Kevin Harvick's run so well here as of late as well. But, gosh, I think I would lean towards Jimmy Johnson on the 2, and here's why I say that. Johnson and his team have been completely overlooked, not only for the chase, but I think for the entire season. I mean, Hendrick Motorsports as a whole has just been basically overlooked and cast aside. But Jimmy's been there. He's been in position to potentially pick up a couple of wins here in the last handful of races, including last week at Dover when they had the little snafu on pit road that was by nobody's fault.
Yeah.
I'm not going to blame the crew member for coming over the wall too soon, because it's all about rhythm on pit stops. And when Jimmy had to jam the brakes to get into his box, it threw everything out of rhythm. And so I think they were just one bad luck scenario away from potentially winning at Dover. So Jimmy's done awfully well at Charlotte in his career, and I know the cars are different than what they were 5, 7, 10 years ago, but Jimmy Johnson hasn't forgotten how to drive. Chad Knaus, Ron Malik, they haven't forgotten how to set up a race car at Charlotte. So between the 2, I'd take Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, and the 3 best cars the last time we were at Charlotte were Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., and Jimmy Johnson, and they were actually pretty close. So those 3 are guys that you look at this weekend. Alex, one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, you probably know this better than most, coming to a place like Charlotte, which is a bigger racetrack, takes a lot of horsepower. Do you think Hendrick and Stewart-Haas Racing and guys like that have more of an advantage than Toyota this weekend as far as pure horsepower? So could Chase Elliott be a guy you start rather than a Kyle Busch?
Yeah, absolutely. And Chase Elliott's another one of those drivers that just kind of quietly moved right along through the first 3 races of the chase, and quite frankly through the entire season. I like his remarkable consistency, and going back to tracks for a second time from what we've seen with Chase Elliott and his team, things have gotten much, much better. So, heck yeah, I'm all about putting Chase Elliott on my fantasy racing team for this weekend in Charlotte. I don't know any other way to say it other than the fact that they've shown remarkable consistency week in and week out.
Another guy who has been quite consistent, yet he hasn't really challenged for wins in the chase so far, is Brad Keselowski. He's the only driver with top 5s in the first round of the chase. Do you put him on your team this weekend at Charlotte?
Yes. And here's the thing. The problem is there's so many good options out there.
Yeah.
And Keselowski is a great one because of the stat you put out there. No, they haven't won any of these chase races, but they're in position in all three of them to win. And that's three types of racetracks in the mile-and-a-half racetrack at Chicagoland, top 5, on the flat 1-mile track in New Hampshire, top 5, on the Monster Mile High Bank super fast 1-mile track at Dover last week, top 5. So there's nothing in the world to suggest Brad Keselowski and this team aren't going to do another top 5. So fantasy racing, we know wins are important, but so are points. So if you've got room on your team and can afford it, depending on the league that you're playing in, I would say Brad Keselowski is a safe bet. And if I had to pick one of the two Team Penske cars, I think Keselowski over Logano because of the pure fact that they're just so consistent right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely Keselowski over Logano, although these 3 races last year, Logano dominated. Alex, give me your list. Who are you going to start for Saturday night's Bank of America 500?
Well, again, there are so many different types of fantasy racing leagues out there, but 4 drivers that I would start, I would definitely start Martin Truex Jr. Until somebody can beat him, until somebody can dethrone him, you got to start him. You do. So I would start Martin Truex Jr. I would start Chase Elliott on my team. I would also start Brad Keselowski. Now, those are 3 legitimates for me. A 4th driver is kind of a toss-up, and there's a lot of compelling reasons to go with one or the other. Greg Biffle and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. haven't lit the world on fire this year, no, but they've begun to turn things around at Roush Fenway Racing, and they're scaring the top 10 and occasionally scaring the top 5. So I would take a strong look at Biffle and Stenhouse. Robbie, I heard you talk about Casey Mears. Mears is good. He's won at Charlotte. His only Sprint Cup Series win came at Charlotte years ago. But I'm kind of on the fence with Mears for this weekend because they just seem to have bad luck following them.
Yeah.
Now, a couple others, Matt DiBenedetto, Regan Smith, no, they're not going to jump up and run unless there's remarkable speed all of a sudden. I think they're going to be 15th to 20th, maybe 22nd place, which is pretty good for a D-level competitor to put in your lineup. Now, Chris Buescher is one of them that I'm a little perplexed on, and here's why. I love Chris Buescher. I think he's a future star in Sprint Cup Series racing. Yeah, he's the only rookie to get a win this year, and yes, he made the chase. Now that he's out of the chase, Front Row Motorsports, and I have yet to find an answer to this question from the text messages that I've sent out to some of my friends at Front Row and Roush Fenway. Once Chris Buescher got his win at Pocono, there was a full onslaught of support from Ford, from Roush Fenway to get him inside the top 30 and try to get him as far in the chase as they can. Now that he's been eliminated from the chase, is that support still there for Buescher and that Front Row Motorsports 34 car? That's my big question I can't get an answer to as of yet. If the full-on support is still there, then Chris Buescher's a starter.
Yeah.
Because of the same reasons as I said with Greg Biffle and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. If suddenly they've scaled back and taken that full-on support away since he's out of the chase, then I'm going to sit Chris Buescher this weekend. So, you know, there's a lot of different reasons, but I would say Truex, Keselowski, Chase Elliott, and if I had to pick one of that group just to be a 4th starter on my team, I'd go with Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
All right. How about a winner this weekend, Alex, before we let you go?
Well, I think it's going to be a toss-up. I think Matt Kenseth actually wins the race.
Okay.
But as a whole, I'm going to save Kenseth for later on in my season because he's one of them that I think is better on tracks later in the year.
All right. Matt Kenseth goes to victory lane this weekend, according to Alex. Alex, thanks so much. Hit him well this weekend in Orlando, all right?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that 155-mile-an-hour tailwind off the tee today or this weekend. So, that's something that I'm going to be needing.
Yeah. Alex Hayden, everyone. He may be short in stature, but he's a really good golfer.
I saw a photo of him this past weekend. I know we got to go to break, of him walking down pit road talking to Joey Logano, and I was like, Joey, you're going to let kids interview it. It was Alex. So.
Well, because Joey's like, 6'7"?
Joey's tall, and Alex is very short.
Anyways, we're done making fun of Alex. Alex Hayden, everyone. Well, we'll talk about the rest of our team after the break, maybe some sleepers, stuff like that, and then also, of course, our winners and our Under the Rock segment. Don't go anywhere. This is the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show presented by Hercules Tires.
Tyler and Robbie will be right back to talk more fantasy racing here on the Inside Line.
A dead battery can leave you stranded, so get yours tested for free during Superstart Battery Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Need a replacement? Purchase a Superstart Extreme or Superstart Platinum battery and get up to $25 in O'Reilly gift cards after a mail-in rebate. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there. Whether you're running on dirt or running a job, our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, right on our strength.
Ever wish your kid came with an instruction manual? I'm behavioral therapist James Lehman, and I'll show you how to change your child's behavior now with the Total Transformation, the program that helps stop defiance, backtalking, lying, acting out in school, even problems with ADD and ADHD. There's no screaming, no fighting, no frustration. Your child will listen to you again. I guarantee it.
Change your child's behavior now with the Total Transformation. Call now. 1-800-406-2945. 1-800-406-2945.
We now return to the Inside Line with Robbie Mays and Tyler Burnett.
Welcome back to the Inside Line Fantasy Racing Show presented by Hercules Tires. I'm Robbie Mays. He's Tyler Burnett. And since Tyler is back in the building with us this week, it's time to play our favorite game of the week, Under a Rocker, Tyler.
Do you live your life up under a rock? Or are you Tyler Burnett?
I thought your mom was going to be mad about this, but she loves this segment. So we're gonna keep on doing it.
I get made fun of.
We're gonna keep on doing it. All right, this week it is a photo/song. If you can name the person singing, identify this person via the photo, the group, anything, the song title, whatever you can do. So Daryl, let's cue it up and let's play Under a Rock or Tyler. Who is this person? She was a singer in a group in the 70s. And this is one of my favorite songs. You should know this group. You have heard this group recently.
I actually do. I know this. That is Stevie Nicks. And the band is Fleetwood Mac.
Wow.
Yes. I know it. The reason why this came up is because Kim Kuhn and I were writing to the media day in Chicago.
I know. She told me the story.
And Landslide came on.
Yeah.
Which I had no idea who that was or who the band was until that point, because I thought that was a Dixie Chicks song. Because I'm a huge Dixie Chicks fan.
No.
So I've always thought it was a Dixie Chicks song, and I never knew it was a Fleetwood Mac song. Yeah. But I got it right.
That was Stevie Nicks.
And I hate to say this. This is going to hurt really bad. I didn't even know Stevie Nicks was a girl until Kim told me.
Wrong. You got it wrong, buddy.
That is bad.
You got it wrong. We're giving you a loss on that. Rango. Stop.
He's mad.
I know he is.
How's he been doing?
Better than me last week.
Rango. He did better. Where did you finish?
It's not important. I didn't have Truex, so I lost a bunch of points. I had Johnson, yeah.
He led some laps.
Yeah, not as many as Truex.
All right, here's the team. Ryan Blaney. Martin Truex Jr.
Smart.
Jimmy Johnson.
Smart.
I do like the Casey Kane pick, and that's one of the sleepers that I had this week. He's been running well in the he's not in the chase.
Yeah.
But he's been running well. So Casey Kane's on his team, and then, of course, Chris Buescher. His winner is Jimmy Johnson. His manufacturer is Chevrolet.
Okay.
We'll see if Jimmy Johnson can have a good week this week. It should be good. But how about that? I win the Under the Rock segment this week. That's 2 in a row.
No, you lost.
No, Daryl, did I lose? I don't think I did. I got it right. Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac. Anyways, what's coming up this week?
We got to pick winners first.
Our winners. Who do you got?
Truex. Duh.
Well, I'm probably going to put Truex as my winner on the game.
Okay.
But I think I'm probably going to pick Kevin Harvick.
Okay.
Just because it's something different.
Okay.
So Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Matt Kenseth is Alex Hayden's pick, and Jimmy Johnson. So we got 4 different winners. there from our group here. Coming up Saturday, which is tomorrow night, hopefully it's not raining, 6:45 p.m. Eastern Time, the Bank of America 500. You can listen to that on the Performance Racing Network, which will be good. Our friends do a good job over there, so listen to that. MRN will join the chase next week as we come here, talk about Kansas, probably talk about Martin Truex Jr. winning the race at Charlotte, and then we'll talk about Kansas moving forward. Thanks for listening. Thanks for all the congratulations, everything. Have fun on Twitter talking about that. Yes, so we'll talk to you next week as we head to Kansas, and it should be a good one in the second round of the chase heading up in Charlotte this weekend.
You've been listening to The Inside Line, presented by Hercules Tires. Stream us every Friday on MotorRacingNetwork.com or on the MRN app. The Inside Line is also available on demand at the MRN.com Media Center, or download it through iTunes or Stitcher. The Inside Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network.